Terry, you got us rolling? Red light's on, let's do it. Welcome to Jonesboro Rotary, everybody. Good afternoon. I guess I didn't really leave you, I just said welcome and you guys were staring at me. I should have said good afternoon, that would have been a more natural response. Okay, well, Chad Spivey, invocation, sir.
All right, I'm gonna freestyle one today.
All right.
I'm not gonna rap today. Please bow your heads. Sam. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day, Lord. Thank you for all the days we get to spend here with each other at Rotary. Be with each Rotarian in this club and throughout the world and their projects. We pray that they are fruitful, Lord, and help continue to teach us mercy, grace, and Lord, help us be humble in all we do. And we're so grateful for our help. In Jesus' name, amen.
At this time, we will go ahead and turn it over to our fellow Rotarian, Ms. Peggy Taphorn, to introduce our program for the day.
Excellent, thank you. So thank you all for having me. So I brought some reinforcements along to sort of prove the point that the Temple Theater is much more than just a live theater venue. So not only did I bring some ringers with me, but I also want to talk about beer. Because we have a lot of things coming up in the next couple weeks, and one of those is that we have partnered with Hugger Mugger, and we are debuting on opening night, which happens to be Friday, September 13th, a new beer at Hugger Mugger that's been brewed specifically as a partnership with the Temple, and we've come up with a great name, we think anyway, and it's called the Ghost Light Lager. And Ty Stumpf, who is part of my dynamic duo, is part of the brew crew, so I'm going to let him just talk a little bit about what that means and what they've already done and maybe some upcoming activities that we have going on.
Sure. The brew crew is a group of us. Some of us are parents of children who are in the show, but many of us are not as well too. But we got the chance to go and tour and actually see the background of how it was made. We actually got to do a taste test. It's pretty good, by the way. So there was a nice time for that. It's also been good for us to sort of get to know one another. While many of us are Sanfordians, not all of us are. So the nice part of this kind of relationship too is bringing in folks from the outside to be part of it as well. In particular, we're looking forward to this Saturday. There'll be a little. There's gonna be a little bit of a event at Hugger Mugger coming up. I lost my words. Sorry. So there'll be a little bit of event that'll come up. It'll sort of preview Oliver's coming, and then the evening of the 13th. Also, there'll be a nice event there as well too. But it's been a nice way to sort of get to know folks. We know somewhat tangentially, but really get to know them a little more specifically.
And so, obviously, the theater is the most important part of what we do, but I think almost as important, if not even more important, is what we do with our young people. So we have academy classes that Bill and I were just talking about in the salad bar line that are starting on September 11th, and they run for 8 weeks, and it literally is from 4-year-olds through 90-year-olds, and we have something for everyone. And last year we started sort of a new academy outline, which was the first 2 weeks they worked on singing, the second 2 weeks they worked on a dance, and the third portion they worked on acting, and then they sort of put it all together and got resume pictures on top of that. And it was a really neat experience. Again, as Ty mentioned, a lot of our kids come from Sanford, but a lot don't. We pull in kids from Moore County, from Chatham County, from Wake County, as well as Lee County. So bringing all those kids together is something I think we do really well, and then they make lifelong friendships. I know that Jude, whom you're gonna meet in a minute, has made a great friendship with Wyatt, who lives down in Moore County. So then when they get together to do shows, it certainly looks like you're having a good time. So it really is neat for me to see these kids literally make lifelong friendships that start now when they're 4 years old. And it helps them. It gives them sort of a platform where they can be themselves and they can discuss things outside of school and outside of, for them, this is their extracurricular activity. So I'm really proud of what we offer. And now literally we offer it all summer long. We just wrapped up our summer season where we did 5 fantastic camps, served over 500 kids. We did 2 productions of Frozen. Again, Jude played Olaf the Snowman and was hysterical. We did our first indoor Shakespeare, because we tried doing Shakespeare in Depot Park, and every year literally we got rained out, and it was mostly like Shakespeare in the mud. So this year we sort of preempted that and did it inside the theater. And again, I'm thrilled and amazed that we'll have audiences of 200 people who will come and see young people do Shakespeare in Sanford, North Carolina. That's pretty exciting. We had our advanced young people's camp. This year it was Schoolhouse Rock. And then we have our advanced musical theater camp for teenagers and tweens. And this year they did a show called Band Geeks, which is a new show. It's only been done a few places across the country. We were one of the few theaters, first theaters to do it. And it's also a really great show for young people. So I'm gonna let Jude talk a little bit more about his experiences, but I also wanna let you know we have some great upcoming special events this Saturday. We have a group called Beatlesque, obviously a Beatles tribute band. We've sold over 250 tickets. They're really good. They're based out of Raleigh. So it's sort of hometown boys who have made good. They now travel across the country, and it just so happened that we got them on a free weekend. So if you're not going to the beach or the mountains this weekend, come and join us for Beatlesque. The following weekend, it will be our opening for Oliver, but we're also doing a Marilyn Monroe tribute called With Love, Marilyn, by this beautiful young woman who was originally from Wilmington, North Carolina, went and tried to win some fame and fortune in New York City. That kind of chewed her up a little bit, and now she's come back home to North Carolina. But she does this great tribute to Marilyn Monroe. It's about a 70-minute show, and it really shows a lot of the background behind that persona that we all know and love. It's kind of a play with music, and it's really interesting and really heartfelt, and she spent a lot of time putting the show together now. Again, she travels across the country performing as Marilyn Monroe. It's a beautiful tribute. That is on September 6th. On September 17th, we have Henry Cho, who's a Comedy Zone comedian. He calls himself the Redneck Asian. He's really funny. He was here last year. We had a great time. He loved the Temple Theater. His booking agent begged to have him come back, so please join us for Henry Cho on September 17th. And then September 19th, I got a call from some people out of Carolina Trace who said we have this really funny guy. He's sort of a vaudevillian, even though he's British, and his name is Jimmy Keys, and he plays the piano and is a comedian, and again, he's quite a character. I've not met the man, but talking to him on the phone, you think it's gonna be a 5-minute conversation, an hour and a half later, he's still talking. So he's really energetic, he's really fun. His name is Jimmy Keys, and he's coming on September 19th. And if you want to be part of the Brew Crew, there are still other opportunities. As Ty mentioned, this Saturday, we're doing a flash mob, don't tell anybody, at Hugger Mugger to sort of promote Oliver. And then opening night, in lieu of doing our champagne toast at the temple like we usually do, we are going to, as soon as the curtain comes down, we're going to be in costume, and we're going to lead sort of a parade through the streets, down Steel Street to Hugger Mugger. We have torches, we have lanterns, the young people will be in costume, and so we're all going to just march to Hugger Mugger and do our opening night there and debut this Ghost Light Lager, which is very light, which I like. And I think that's going to be a really fun night. So we're going to do our opening night party at Hugger Mugger, and that is on Friday, September 13th. I also want to hand out this beautiful new temple brochure, because I think I mentioned the last time I did a program that we are opening a sister theater in Pittsboro. We had our first big organizational advisory board fundraising meeting on Tuesday that went really well. We are needing to fundraise about $10 million. But it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. And so a lot of you know Kirk Bradley here from Leemore Capital Company. He is the sort of the brains and the money behind this project that is happening north of Pittsboro. It's huge. It is going to bring 60,000 people into Chatham County, and they have beautiful plans for it all. Part of their component and what is going to open in phase 1 to try to get more people down into this area. It's one of those planned communities like Southern Village. So it has the Village Green, which will have a big amphitheater. It has a live theater space, which will be at this time called Mosaic, but there are naming rights available. So if you want to write me a check this afternoon for $2.5 million, we can call it the Jeremy Theater. And it has a 350-seat theater as well as a 99-seat black box. It's also going to have 10,000 square feet of rehearsal space. So it's a huge project, and it's a very big component of how they're selling Mosaic and Chatham Village. It's beautiful, and there's going to be everything in the downtown area has to be North Carolina based. So it can be, for example, a beauty salon, and even if it's an Aveda franchise, it has to be owned by North Carolina people. Everything on our side of 15501, which is right behind the Bojangles, is where all this is happening. If you go through Pittsboro, on the north side of Pittsboro, I think they have something like 3,000 acres of land. There's going to be standalone houses, there will be condos, there will be duplexes, and then they're also doing sort of above the retail living space for condos in that area as well. So it's going to be wonderful. That theater is going to be one of their main anchors. And again, everything has to be a North Carolina-based sort of mom and pop operation to be on our side of the highway. And then on the other side of the highway, in the future, they're planning to bring in all the big box and everything because they're going to have 60,000 people, in addition to the 5,000 people that now make Pittsboro home. So it's basically building another city. They've jumped through all the hoops. It's beautifully planned with green space. It's going to be one of the most green developments on the planet. So they're really going to get some national, as well as they're hoping worldwide recognition, so that if somebody else wants to build this kind of planned community, that they're going to come to Pittsboro, North Carolina to see what they've done here at Chatham Park. And I'm really honored to be part of it. It's going to be tricky raising that kind of money, but I think it's possible. And the slated opening date is 2022 for the first phase, which the theater is part of. And so Kirk Bradley basically paid for these beautiful brochures for us to sort of use as a fundraising tool to say, this is what we've done in Sanford, North Carolina with the Temple Theater as the economic engine of downtown, bringing in 41,000 people last year from 63 different counties of North Carolina. So if we can do that in Sanford, think of what we can do in this brand new facility. And as a business person, when I got wind of this, I thought, well, I could either have a collaboration or I could have a $16 million competitor 20 minutes away. So that's why and how I got involved. And so there will be advantages for the temple along the way as well. There will be some shared programming. So for example, if we open Oliver in September at the temple, it's too close to do it within the same season, but we'll pack it all up, the sets, the costumes, and the props, which are part of the biggest expense. Put that into a warehouse, 18 months later, dust it all off, put it up in the Mosaic Theater, and do it at the end of their following season. So there'll be overlap that way. There will be overlap organizationally for the staff. For example, I think you've all met Gavin Paymer, who's now at the temple as our marketing development person, as well as Jacob Toth, who's now on as Associate Artistic Director and Education Director. The long-term plan is that Jacob will end up running the day-to-day business at the temple, Gavin will end up running the day-to-day business at Mosaic, and I will run both of them from the beach. That's my plan. That last part may not happen, but that's my dream. And there will be other overlap as well. Our now part-time business manager will be a full-time business manager. We'll hire a production manager to oversee the build of both facilities, set-wise, props-wise, costume-wise, which the temple can't afford on its own. So there are advantages for the temple as well. And again, it's because I wanted to be a collaborator and not a competitor. We don't get a lot of our audience from Chatham County, but we do get about 6%. So that's a pretty big chunk. So I wanted to make sure that we could fold them in to the Mosaic family without cannibalizing the temple audience and donors as well. So that's exciting. It's coming up. It's happening. The fundraising has started. And again, if you know any leads in Chatham County that you want to send my way, I would be happy to talk to them. We have this beautiful presentation that Kirk and I have put together. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of work, but why not? We're still here, and a challenge is always fun. So, and now that I'm starting my 12th season at the temple, which is hard to believe, Kirk said, I imagine you're pretty bored. Well, that's not true at all. But again, it seemed like a challenge that somebody was going to have to take, so it might as well be me. So I'm excited to have been invited to be part of it, and I'm looking forward to see how it's all going to unfold. But now back to the talent of the day. I'm going to let Jude introduce himself and talk a little bit about what the temple means to you and where you go to school and how great a kid you are. So in Oliver, we have 37 young people, and we have not one, not two, but 3 Olivers. Jude will be doing the final weekend of the show. So Ethan Martin, who's Tabitha Whitlow's son, is going to be our Oliver for the first weekend. And then the middle weekend is Noe Congas, who's from Moore County. And then the third and final weekend will be Jude Stump's chance. And it's because we had so much talent. I couldn't choose. I literally couldn't choose. And they've all earned it, they all deserve it, and they're working really hard. And we have the kids in 2 different casts. So we have a red cast, which will perform Thursdays and Saturdays, and we have a white cast, which will perform Fridays and Sundays, because the kids have to get out of 1 day of school a week, as opposed to 2 days of school a week. Although you'd like to get out of 2 days of school a week, yeah. So it works out for everybody, but it literally is tricky on the creative team side because we were literally rehearsing 6 different shows. So, because each group of kids has to do it with each Oliver, and we have 1 set of adults that have to know which kid's gonna be there when they put their mug on their head or whatever's happening. So it's been challenging in the rehearsal process. We just finished Act 1 on Sunday. We started top of Act 2 last night. We're gonna finish Act 2 by the end of this week as far as staging it and learning all the music so that the final week leading into Tech, we can alternate casts nightly and give all of our Olivers a chance to work with everybody that they're gonna see when they get into costume and get on the stage. But without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jude Stump.
Well, hi, good evening. I'm Jude Stump. I've just turned 11 years old, and I got a tramway. And I've just always loved Temple. This is now my 3rd year at Temple, and I've done so many shows, and it's really such a blessing to do everything there. I started out doing Wizard of Oz. I had really fun, so I decided I'd audition for Christmas Carol. And someone asked me, do you want to be Tiny Tim? And I said, yeah, having no idea who Tiny Tim was. I just said, sure. And I did audition for Tiny Tim, and me and Ethan Martin, the first Oliver, we both got Tiny Tim. And I was so happy.
And a little side note, Jude, they were the first boys, because up until then, we'd only had girls play Tiny Tim. So they were the first 2 boys who could actually handle it vocally and acting-wise, and were the right age.
And in that show, I met, as Peggy mentioned, one of my best friends, Wyatt from Moore County. And I think it's really great that we can just pull in people from all sorts of places to do shows with us. And about Oliver, it's really fun. I enjoy my part, and I just really feel like lately I've grown as an actor, singer, and dancer, because I've now gotten Aladdin in Aladdin, Olaf in Frozen, and now Oliver in Oliver, and I'm so happy for all of those roles.
You ready to sing? Okay. I'm gonna put a chair out here. Do you want to come out here, Jude? And I'll put this chair, so this can be like the bed at the end. And then if you want to start like over here, then you can do your blocking-ish. So we had over 70 kids audition, and we chose 37 of them. And it was really hard. It was really hard to narrow it down. All right, you ready? So, do you want to give a little background of what's happened?
Oh, yes. Leading up to now, Oliver is an orphan his parents basically died when he was born. So he's been in a workhouse his whole life, which is like an orphanage, but you work and get fed very little. And that was very hard because they wouldn't even do useful jobs. As someone in the cast mentioned, they would like maybe pass around cannonballs until it was time to eat, just because there was no point in that, but they had to work. And so now he has been sold for asking for more food to people at a funeral home, right?
Mm-hmm.
and he's wondering if he'll ever be loved by anyone because it's just been so hard for him his whole life.
I'm ready. It's playing. I think it turned itself off. I talked too long. There we go. Take two.
Where is love? Does it fall from skies above? Is it underneath the willow tree that I've been dreaming of? Where is she who I close my eyes to see? Will I ever know the sweet hello that's meant for only me? Who can say where she may hide? Must I travel far and wide till I am beside the someone who I can mean something to? Where is love? Who can say where she may hide? Must I travel far and wide till I am beside the someone who I can mean something to? Where is love?
So does anybody have any questions for Jude? And actually, last year at this time, Ty played John Hancock with Patrick Kelly in 1776. So it runs in the family.
And don't forget your little sister. Why don't you tell us about what she does?
It's not her day, it's Jude's day.
Come here to talk about this.
You can talk.
Okay. Well, my sister also did theater. She started with, that was 2 years ago, right?
Mhm.
Around this time, she was doing Beauty and the Beast with me. She was Chip, the little teacup. And speaking of Beauty and the Beast, Patrick Kelly was in it too. He was my dad. And that was a lot of fun, and she definitely had a lot of fun and wanted to do what I did, because it was, you start doing the classes when you are 8, and she was 7, so she was super hyper to do it a year early. And she's just recently turned 8 now, and what she keeps saying is, I'm finally temple legal.
So it's like getting your driver's license, but different.
Yeah. And she's continued doing all of this theater with me. She's in Oliver too. She's like the best sister ever. And I'm just happy she gets to do what she likes with me. She wants to grow up and be an actor and the president, so.
Ronald Reagan did it.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Well, I want to act as well. I'd like to go to New York and hopefully live there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a few years later, we've already discussed this. I'm gonna come back and direct Temple.
Yeah, we have a secession plan.
Or
Yeah.
was they?
Or Mosaic, or both.
Will you be ready to retire by then, Peggy?
I hope so. Yeah, exactly. It'll be a coup. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Oh, wow.
And my sister, whose name is Cora, loves this just as much as me, and I'm glad she loves what I love, because you always have an automatic friend when you get there. You always, like, you'll know someone there that you love, and that really means a lot to me.
So again, I'm very fortunate that I get to be surrounded by these wonderful, creative, smart, funny, irritating sometimes, young people who gang up on me. But I couldn't ask for a better job. And to be able to give them this kind of opportunity, because without the Temple, there isn't in all of Lee County and all of Moore County. So I'm honored to do it and thrilled to do it. So come and see Oliver, open September 13th. We have a lot of special events going on. Gavin wanted me to say that if you want to advertise or be a donor or a sponsor, today's the day. He's going to extend it through next week, but we really have to get the program to the printer, to Sam and Van, so that they can get it made for us. So all of that, if you've been deciding, now's your chance to make the positive decision, which is why I brought along a ringer, because who could not? Who can resist that, right? So thank you, Jude. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Any questions for me about Temple, Mosaic, anything? Beer? I don't know anything about beer.
Jim's already wrote it down, by the way. He wrote down the type of beer and the opening day.
Ghost Light Lager. I didn't get to stay because I was in rehearsal, but Tim there talked about the artistry and everything that goes into the beer and where the hops came from and who they were related to and all kinds of interesting things that I didn't know went into beer making. So it's fascinating. And there is time to be part of the brew crew if you want, because we have a lot of fun stuff happening around that as well. Yep, great. Thank you, Beth.
All right, let's give our Mike, Sergeant at Arms, announcements.
Thank you all for being here on this fifth Thursday, August. I'd like to welcome Jude and Ty Stump here with our program today. Taking it to the theater. Thank you for being here. Welcome. For announcements, Oscar has an announcement for us.
We have a special gift sent from Mexico, from Rotary Club of Mexico, District 4170. And the announcement that the mayor of Atizapan will visit Sanford October 5th for the official proclamation of 60 cities between Sanford and Atizapan, Mexico. And this is a special gift for Rotary Club of Sanford.
And thanks for all you did to, make their stay so memorable. And it sounds like that relationship continues to grow and prosper. So we appreciate that. Keep us posted on as that visit approaches. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes,
One
sir.
more thing, I went to Mexico and I invited artists from Mexico to play in our festival, which is gonna be October 5th at the Mann Center. And I was asking for about 10 people and they're sending us about 30 people. Good news.
Make it work.
Thank you, Oscar. Dave, you had an announcement as well.
Yeah, just reminding the club that the district governor will be here next Thursday, so be on good behavior. And he will pretty much take care of all the meetings, so we're gonna hold our announcements and things down to a minimum next week. But try to come, because I get to hear him 4 times, so this will be my 2nd time. But you enjoy him. Randy's a good guy.
Thank you, David. Any other announcements?
Minda's here.
Welcome. Any brags? Brags. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mindy, wave to the camera.
I'd like to brag on the human race, and I want to share an experience I had with you this morning. I was doodling on the computer and, I think maybe it was on CNN or something, but anyway, they have discovered some bones and remains of a 3.8 million year old ancestor of ours. And they have, you know, artificially applied skin to the bones, you know, and so forth, so you can see an image. So, but ironically, as I was looking at that, on the right-hand side of the screen, the 20 best bikinis of this year popped up. And it was so profound it almost knocked me out of my chair. I said, golly, how we have evolved in a positive direction, you know? So, think good thoughts.
And I don't have change, I need some, but anyway, I've told several of you, tomorrow is my last official day at work, and I'm looking forward to being there for a short time tomorrow. And then I promised my wife I'd take her to the mountains for the month, so I'll be gone the month of September, but y'all enjoy.
Hey, I don't know if Mike and I were the only ones there, and Terry, Terry, but the concert last night, Jim Quick and Coastline, wow, what a lot of energy that guy has, man. He is just, whoo, he was kicking, man. It was high energy. It was really a lot of fun. Right, Terry?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Good.
It was good.
Let me whip out my. What's that?
What's their hit song? Mama's drinking liquor.
Mama
again.
drinking
There you go. There you go. There you go.
I should have brought a young person as my guest today.
I went to the ambassador night this week, and I'll tell you what, it is one of the best things that's going to be happening, and it's the first of the season's programs, and I advise you to go out and get your tickets as soon as possible, because we expect a full house every night and every day, okay? And this young man's going to prove it when he starts singing.
Thank you, Mr. Bond.
Any other brags?
Thank you.
All right, Terry.
Okay, get up here. This is really good. Let's see, I'll make sure I get the name right. Adrian Wright Thomas, The Overcomer. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it. It is really, really good. I've done several interviews with her and her family. They're just awesome. I mean, it's a good tearjerker, a good church movie, a good comical. She got her touch. She got the miner's touch.
Excellent, good.
All right. So,
Any more brags? All right, that you did.
All right. Thanks. And wanted to mention, Jeremy, thank you for taking the lead last week, running the meeting. I appreciate that in my absence. We had a good trip to the membership summit in Greensboro, and I think learned quite a bit about some strategies to address the membership challenges that we're facing. And as I found out, it's very common across our district, and I think across really the world, that civic clubs are having a tough time securing members, recruiting, retaining, all the things that we've talked about. So I'm very encouraged that we're proactively addressing, looking at some ways to continue to grow our club, because as we all know, and the more of these Rotary events I go to, it becomes more and more clear and hammered home to me. The first time I heard it, I don't know if I quite understood it, but Rotary is a membership organization. And the more I heard that, the more I really began to understand what that means. It's not a membership organization just because we get together and have fun, which of course we do. It's a membership organization because our club and Rotary across the world is only going to be able to do the positive things that we do with strong, active membership. So that's our goal, and that's what we'll continue to strive for. And along that same line, I wanted to mention the board, at our board meeting earlier, I feel like we had a very productive board meeting. The board has now voted to approve shaking up our meeting structure a little bit. So as of October 1, we are going to be moving one of our monthly meetings off-site over to Camelback Brewing Company, Mike's Restaurant and Brewery. That will be on Tuesday night, and that will become a regular meeting in our rotation. So the first meeting of every month will be at Camelback at 6 o'clock. We're going to be having bar type food. It'll be a little bit of a different menu than we have here. There will also be beverages available. The meeting will be a little less formal. It'll be more of a informal, I guess, fellowship type meeting. So we're hoping we can attract some folks that may not be our traditional Rotary membership, and also just mix up what we're doing a little bit. The second meeting of the month will be at the Flame. Third meeting will be Backpack Pals, and then fourth meeting and sometimes fifth meeting, if we have a fifth Thursday, will continue to remain at the Flame. So go ahead and get that on your calendar. We'll of course be reminding you a lot about that through the coming weeks, but that will go into effect October 1. Okay?
And also we're having a Tuesday meeting this coming Tuesday, which is the 3rd. We're still having the regular meeting next Thursday, but we're going to have the social this coming Tuesday night, and we're going to have some potential Rotarians there at that.
Raffle.
Yeah, today we raised $60, $30 to the winner, and $30 to the Eradicate Polio campaign. Would you please pick me out a winning ticket? Okay, and the last three numbers are 3787. 3787. Peggy?
First time winner.
All right. Michael.
All right, please join me in the four-way test. Things they do. First, is the truth, is fair to all concerned, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.